Yeah, you know, another interesting thing, whilst having this conversation about family and the mother-father balance and the kids, and so it's a very easy, I wouldn't call it a formula, but I think it's a plan of action to really work on oneself and make sure we build healthy family environments and strong family environments. And obviously that requires a lot of hard work, because there's a lot of brokenness, you know, permeating amongst our people, amongst us, men, women, and the children. There's a lot of fixing that needs to be done. But whilst having that conversation, I think people need to understand and realize the importance of presenting ourselves as a unit to the outside world. In the community, we may interact as individuals, but then with the external factors, we can't interact as individuals. We have to interact as a group. Do you get it? Because, as I said, the Chinese, Xi Jinping, he's Xi Jinping in China. You know, his friend is his friend. But then when they go and approach the United States of America, they are China, 1.4 billion people. It doesn't matter how much disagreements they have within the country, but then when they go out, they present a united front. And there is an illusion about this black thing, black entrepreneurs, black billionaires. They're all useless, man. They have absolutely no power. Look at people like Jay-Z and all these other rich, so-called rich black people. They have absolutely no power, man. Those guys have no power. They can be destroyed within the blink of an eye, because they are individuals, you know. So and they represent that individual success. So and it doesn't relate back to the community.
So now that you mentioned China, do you think that China is independent, or are they on the USA payroll?
Nah, it's not. The USA doesn't run things in China. It's the other way around. You see?
Are you sure?
It's definitely the other way around. So obviously they do work to. Remember, there's a shadow world system, right? I'm talking about the one, the normal world system where people open businesses, run their business and all that. That's the normal world system. Then there's a shadow one, which is the spider's web that runs everything behind the scenes. In that case, China and the USA work together. That's why you had the USA pay China for the Wuhan lab and all that.
Also, why, if then China has power, why would they and Russia allow the US dollar to be the one currency that is used?
No, they're changing it
for the exchange.
They're actually changing it.
It's been years.
Yeah, obviously they don't remember, man. The USA has been investing billions and billions and billions of dollars on their sophistication, military sophistication. You don't want to upset that, and it's not just the USA. It's the Western world. You know, Europe, USA, and all other civilizations that are in the West. So you have to move in silence, right? China and Russia have been moving in silence. These people have been having wars, man, for decades. That thing that's happening in Ukraine, as much as there's a lot of lies around it, but it's been happening for a while, you know, amongst these powerful economies. As much as China and Russia have allowed, if you put it that way, the dollar to be like the base currency, they've been doing things on their own as well. That's why the USA and a lot of Europe depend on Chinese petroleum and gas and all that. So that doesn't mean these countries have just been sitting and not doing anything. They've actually been working in silence. That's why you have structures like the BRICS. It's a way of China and Russia to establish an alternative, and they are moving much more towards it right now as we speak. You know, I think they're using gold actually.
Don't you think China is maybe moving towards colonizing Africa again? Because from the look of things, they actually they are investing a lot of money in Africa, and then that can actually make Africa land up in debt towards them. So now, if now we are in debt, that means now we're owing them, or maybe they have part ownership in Africa. Because that's how it works, even in banks. If you borrow money, then they can repossess your stuff if you don't pay back. So don't you think maybe they are moving towards something similar to that? Because if I'm sure you know that they are a communist country.
Yeah, communism with Chinese characteristics is what they call it.
Yeah,
communism with Chinese
and we can see that they actually are influencing a lot of things, and they are leading in terms of the new world order.
Yeah, no, that's true. So that's why I said there's two sides. There's the normal China that you know, then there's the shadow China, which is the one that's influencing, that's the powerful one. So remember, man, with the colonization of Africa by China and all that, look, man, if African leaders are stupid, there's nothing no one can do to help them. These guys, as I said yesterday, they get summoned by Xi Jinping and then they run to China because they are failing to run things in their own countries. You see? It's like even with the European colonization, man. Now we always demonize Europe for colonizing Africa. You know, these guys, they didn't come here and just randomly shoot at people. Bah, 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 I'm colonizing. You know, man. These guys were actually having conversations with leaders. They were making agreements with kings. In Congo, King Alfonso, his children went and studied in France, or if not Portugal, I think in Portugal. These kings were allowed into the best of the best institutions of the world. And they sold out their people, and the presidents are doing the same. So the idea that China is colonizing Africa, it purports the image as if China is doing the work. Even Africans are complying, man.
Do you think they have a choice?
We always have a choice, my brother.
Or
there's always a choice. Singapore had a choice.
Because from my understanding is that the only choice they have is that you do what they say, or you have the choice to die. They will kill you.
Well, not necessarily. If you have, so remember, let's talk economics now. If you have a competitive advantage, man, you will be respected in the world. If you have something to offer, but then you need to grow some balls and some spinal bone as well. Look, in East Africa, they are known for their tea and coffee, but then they're not really capitalizing on that and take that as their competitive advantage to the world. Whereas in Asia, what they call the Asian tigers, they are good when it comes to these electronic chips. These microchips. That's how Asian countries have really now grown. Besides China, which is a manufacturing giant, they've really mastered how to manufacture and become the, boiling pots of these microchips. And the whole world goes there for that, right? And then here in Africa, you don't see that. In West Africa, they've got, loads amount of cocoa, but then they don't actually make chocolate. They send it to Switzerland. The Swedes make chocolate for them. They sell it back to them at an astronomical price.
Do you think it's because they want to do that, or is it by design?
Look, man, what I'm saying is we cannot always be blaming someone else for African problems. Otherwise, this is going to be a cycle for the next 1,000 years. We'll always be saying, the Europeans are colonizing us. Unless then Africans are mentally inferior, then we can cry and point at someone else. It is definitely by design, Europeans are looking out for Europeans, and Chinese are doing the exact same thing. So when you say Chinese are recolonizing Africa, yes, they are. 100%. Everyone is going to do that until Africans wake the hell up and build for themselves. China is colonizing Africa, and Africans are allowing it. Europe colonized Africa and still continue to do that, and Africans allowed it. The Arabs did the same thing, and Africans allowed it. Why not? If your leaders are not going to grow some balls and stand up for their people and build for their people, like the guy in Rwanda, he may be a dictator and everything, but he's standing up for his country. He's not thinking, we are African now, let's cry. No, Kagame is building there. He's building something amazing in Rwanda. You go to Botswana, the president in Botswana is building something amazing. And a lot of other African leaders are failing at doing this. Instead of using their power to help their people, they use their power to, to eat. Like what Mugabe did. He didn't do anything for Zimbabweans. You see, he did favors for those who were close to him and those who agreed with him. So people need to start treating countries as countries and not as family businesses. It's not a family business. Look at what Mutsepe and Ramaphosa and Jeff Radebe are doing to South Africa right now. They're destroying the country. You see, the same people in power, the Mandela family, they have to be there. The Zuma family have to be there. All these people sort of struggle icons. They didn't even struggle that much anyway. A lot of them ran away to other countries. The people who struggled are our parents. They're the ones who are being called monkeys every day here in South Africa. But they didn't benefit anything. These struggle icons, they treat it as if it's a family business. So what I'm saying is there ulterior motive from China and Europe? 100%. And we can choose to cry about that for the next 100 years and cry that Europe and China are colonizing us by design. We can cry about that. It's valid. You can. No one is stopping you from doing it. or you can choose to actually wake up and build something of value, build something that everyone else in the world will be willing to consume. Look at China, man, and America. You know, they don't really get along very well, eh? But look at how many Americans...
For my understanding, they do. It's just
Explain
propaganda.
I mean,
because in the 1800s, actually Rockefeller met with the banks of China. They were striking a deal,
but
they got praised that they are the first to reconnect the communist thingy, the Chinese country, whatever.
No, let me not say China. Let me maybe say communism and capitalism are always portrayed as enemies, which is China and America, right? But look at how many people in America are consuming Chinese products. One simple example, TikTok. Look at how many Americans are consuming TikTok, and the entire world, including South Africans, are consuming TikTok. It's a Chinese product. When you download TikTok, you don't think about Chinese people. You think about what you want to do with that TikTok. That's what I'm saying with building something that the world is going to consume. Instead of crying out and crying and saying, they are killing us, they hate us. Yes, they do. Yes, they're killing you. Yes, they hate you. So what? Do you think they'll stop by crying that China is colonizing Africa? Do you think Chinese are going to stop? They're not going to stop. They'll continue. The last time I checked, it was a few years back, there was about 1 million Chinese that have been dumped in Africa. Apparently, these huge construction companies from China, they bring their employees who are said to be prisoners from China. They bring them to Africa to run these construction projects. They work and then they don't take them back to China. They stay here. That's why if you look at Uganda, you find Chinese people, just average Chinese guys, man, illegally mining in Uganda. And when you call the minister, they murder the minister. They fight with the minister. You go to Ghana, you see the same thing. In Zambia, you see the same thing. So now it shows these are not even powerful Chinese people. These are prisoners who are dumped into Zambia and Ghana and Uganda. But then when they get there, they take advantage of the resources. Because the people, I'm sure the governments of those countries make sure that the people don't benefit. So the problem in Africa, you have the governments that are enemies to their people. In all African countries, a lot of governments are enemies to their people today.
Yeah, and also the programs, man, that are put in place in Africa, man, they're just dumping people down.
Yeah, those programs are there to destroy people's minds. You have a lot of talent, man, even in South Africa alone. So much talent. You can solve South African problems like this. If you could give China, man, just give Africa to China, the whole continent, give it to China for 10 years, you would see Africa would change. You know why? Because the Chinese would actually work instead of complaining every day. They would work. I'm not saying it would change for the good or for the bad. I'm just saying it would change. You'd see there's something going on. So, with all that being said, let me maybe go back just to close on the subject of presenting oneself as a front. The Chinese work as a front, right? They don't have 1,000 ministers, just like we have in South Africa. There's 1.4 billion people with a few ministers and Xi Jinping. But then they actually they have effective strategies, man. They have effective strategies because it's based on action. Now, if one Chinese person moves away from the Chinese narrative, that person can be broken by the Chinese front, the one that they've presented. Look at Jack Ma. He was starting to criticize the government and the government policies, right? And I'm not saying he was wrong or right. I'm just saying he deviated from the agenda of the Chinese. Look at what the government did to him. They're destroying him left, right, and center. And he's Chinese. Now imagine if they do that to a Chinese citizen, a billionaire for that matter. Imagine what they would do to a foreigner. You see? Now, that's what we need as black people, man. We need a front. And I'm not saying black people just based on melanin. I mean people who have a common identity and a common agenda. That's what we need. Fix the families, make strong families. Men must fix their issues. Women must fix their issues. They must build strong families that are based not on emotions and peer pressure and trends, TikTok trends. Just because you see some lady and some guy making TikTok videos looking cute, you want your husband to do that. Let's forget about trends now. Let's build for the future. Don't use too many emotions, Just focus, man. Make babies and build. Teach those babies how to save money, how to make money, they must understand the narrative. There's a narrative and an agenda, right? If we fix those families. Now, what happens is that when we go out there in the world, right? We go out there as conquerors already. You leave your house in the morning, you feel like you've already conquered. Because you come from a strong environment, supportive environment, a strong structure that reaffirms you every day that you can do it. So you live out there, you go to school, you go to to play rugby or soccer or cricket or whatever sport, you go play chess, already you're a champion. You don't need to be validated by your friends or by social media, right? Now, what happens with black people where they get deceived is when they see these black billionaires or these celebrities like Patrice Motsepe. They'll just put one black guy there, like, we have one black billionaire, we're trying, black people were doing it. It's a lie, man. Patrice Motsepe has absolutely no power to change our lives. Absolutely no power. What we need to do is to move, all of us at the same time, and do it. Now, that's where the power is. So people get deceived by this thing of the system choosing certain individuals. You have these black billionaires, Patrice Motsepe, and these other ones, Tokyo Sexwale. All of them are useless, man. Look at them. They've absolutely, it's like they've been castrated. Zinkabi. They can't do anything, man. They've been castrated, man. They are dumped down. All they can do is go there and pretend. And that's all they do. But when it comes to serious issues, they can't talk about them because someone else is in charge. So you have the hidden hand that runs everything. Ne? So that's why we need to move as a unit from the ground, man. From the ground. If you are in Umlazi, in Kaili, Chakoguletu, somewhere in Benoni, you need to build that community. It doesn't even have to be physical. We don't have to be next to each other. But we have to have a common agenda, a propaganda, an agenda that this is what we stand for. When I run a business, you can support me. If I sell products, you buy those products. Even if you're in Gauteng, KwaZulu Natal, in Mpumalanga, Northwest, it doesn't matter where you are. You buy those products, I do the same, right? You have children, I have children. The children are in business, my children are in business. They can work together. They can even marry amongst each other. That's what we need, man. A network, an independent network of people who have an agenda. And it starts with your family. It's not even complicated, man. It starts with the family. We have gatherings every now and then, where but we have to work independently of this system, so that by the time we get into this system, we're already, equipped. We're already equipped. You must educate your children at home. Don't depend on life orientation and life skills. So I think that's the key, man. Fix our issues individually, fix our issues as families, fix our issues as a people. Then we can go out to other races and innovate, man. Sell things to people, give the world, offer something to the world, not just dances, shaking up your body and dancing. That's what we're offering right now.
I see, man. You're so against the dances.
No, the dances are good. I love dancing, you know it.
Yeah.
But that's not what we should be offering, man. There should be something more. The TikTok algorithm in China, it rewards good behavior. If you on TikTok in China, you're talking about innovative things. You're talking about constructive stuff. The algorithm rewards you. I think they give you more traffic. Your video is more. It gets more views. But then if you go to TikTok in China, you do stupid stuff like the rest of the world, then it's not rewarded in China. That's what I'm saying. The dancing is there. People dance. It's part of human expression. But then it shouldn't be the base of a people.
Okay. So what's your take on friendship, bro? Because some people, they don't want to have friends beside them. Because of their past experiences, and maybe they have some traumatic experiences. You never know.
Yeah.
So what's your take on that, brother? What would you say on the topic of friendship, having friends, or maybe having a few or a lot? I don't know.
Okay. So I think firstly we need to acknowledge that people's past experiences are very much valid. We cannot undo that. They did experience what they experienced, and it's valid. We should acknowledge it. If someone got raped and now they're hesitant or skeptical about trusting whatever gender it is, those people are not wrong. They did go what they went through, right? So I acknowledge the validity of people's skepticism with having friends because of their past experiences. But what I'm saying is now, let's look at it in an objective way. Friendships can be very good if people are intentional about them. It adds on to what I was saying about the strong family structure. The first point of reference outside the family is friendship. And that friendship should not be a random friendship, I believe. It should be an intentional friendship that, okay, what can I learn from this person, or what can this person learn from me? doesn't have to be anything, hectic. You could just be learning respect. If you like this person because they are very respectful, or you like this person because they are very thoughtful, they are open to learning new things. You feel safe around them. That's the first point. Remember that whole thing of Abraham, the hierarchy of needs. People need food and all that. They need to feel safe and secure. So you look at such things, from this friend, what am I getting? If it's just a friend because this guy is popular, then perhaps there's a problem there. You might want to re-examine that friendship. But then if it's a friendship with intentionality behind it, for example, man, there are friends that if I talk to this individual, I know there's going to be a lot of good conversations coming out, for a fact that there's going to be a lot of lessons and wisdom. And I'm not saying when you have friends, that's all you should talk about. Lessons and wisdoms. No, man, you could go and explore and play and have fun. But it must be people you feel safe around, and people who, when you're wrong, they can tell you that, hey, but that was wrong, man, And they reinforce your values. That's the most important part. Friendships should reinforce your values. You come from a strong family that taught you the importance of family, the importance of giving back to your people. Friendships should do the same. You can't have a friendship with people who objectify women, with people who objectify men, with people who think children are just, are not important, people who think, no, children, do you get me? It should align with your values. I think that's the key. And it's the first.
Unless you both think children are not important.
Exactly. Yeah. That's where now that's where now you have a KKK, the Ku Klux Klan, white supremacist organizations. Those people are friends and they're very strong friendships. That's why they will survive time, man. Because for them it's more like a religion. That's why you have apartheid and it doesn't end. Because it's more like a religion, and they've come together because they reinforce their beliefs. And friendships should be the same, right? If evil people can do it, why can't good people do it as well? It's so powerful, man. Friendship is so good. Well, sometimes your parents or your siblings or your colleagues can't understand what you're trying to express. But then with friends, you get to explore a different side of yourself. You can express your feelings better. And you can even build businesses, man. Sometimes you meet friends and they end up being your business partners. You see, you grow together. And there's a saying somewhere in some book that two are better than one. If one falls down, the other will lift the other one up. And when they lie in bed, they can keep each other warm. And not even in a literal sense. I'm not even mentioning in a literal sense. I'm not saying you must lie in bed with your friends. No. What I'm saying is, when tough times will come, man. When tough times come, then you get to warm each other with advice and just listening to each other. But more than that, the people you have around you, be it friends or family, at least there should be some kind of compass, to help you stay on course when you're deviating from, what is arguably maybe a better way. They can help you see that, now I think you're missing it, eh? Why are you now doing this? Why are you drinking so much, man? What's happening, People who are going to be there for you, people who have the best interest, your best interest at heart. You can't tell me it's a friend, but then they hate you and they talk behind your back. That is not a friend. So I do think friendship is a very, very, very good thing. But I don't think the number of friends is relevant here. For example, I'm an introvert. I prefer few people around me, right? It drains me when I have to interact with many people all the time. Can do it every now and then. So I prefer a much smaller circle because I know my views can rather be, a little bit too intense for some people. So I prefer people who appreciate my level of thinking and whose level of thinking I can appreciate as well. That's me. Some people are very social, they get off, they get a kick, from socializing, and then they should be allowed to. But then the whole idea is to experience love in its fullness and in its abundance. Yeah, man.
So what's your take on the influence now of friendship in the behavior of people, like people wanting to satisfy other people in terms of the clothes they wear, the food they eat, the places they go to, and things like that. And every time if someone goes to this fancy place or whatever, the first thing they will do is actually take a picture post it for everyone to see. So it's sort of like people need some sort of validation from the outside world.
Ah man, that is true. And friends do absolutely influence how we do things and how we view things and how we view ourselves. That is why I said that's not a bad thing anyway. It's not a bad thing to be influenced, my brother, you know. We can't act as if it's a bad thing. It's a good thing. Sometimes it's a bad thing, right? That's why I think people should be intentional as to why they're having those friendships, right? So if I'm in a friendship with someone because I can learn something from them, I like how they think, they're rich, and they're respectful at the same time, they have strong values and they're rich, so I can benefit something from this person. How did they manage to get to where they got in life? Those are friendships, né? But then each friendship now has its own different dynamic. You should be in charge. So as the person who chooses friends, you should be in charge of how much access you allow those people into your life. If you see this friend of yours is doing stuff you wouldn't do, but then you know there's something that you like about them, then it must be proportional. The amount of access they have in your life must be proportional. There are people that I have in my life, man, and I know, okay, I can do business with this individual, but I don't want to go on social gatherings or interact with them at a social level. So it ends there. The relationship ends there. Then there are people that, okay, you know, this person at a personal level, I can interact with them. But then when it goes to business, I can't trust them because of this and this and that. It ends there, you know. There are people you like, man, you know, people who are friends you grew up with. But it would be a big and grave mistake to be in business with them. Keep it that way. Keep it as that friendship of childhood, and it ends there, right? But I think above all, you should be in charge of the narrative. If you find yourself, man, in a position where now you can't buy certain things, you can't wear certain things because you're afraid that you're not going to look like your friends, then there's a bit of a problem there. You need to step back and do some introspection. If you can't eat certain things now that are fine, good to eat, I'm not saying you should go around eating, you know, food that's not good for you. But if you can't eat things that you used to eat before that are good for you, because your friends don't eat those things and they'll look at you as some kind of, you know, in some kind of way, then maybe you should reevaluate. So what I'm saying is, don't allow yourself to be too influenced to such a point that you're losing who you are. You must have the control over your life, man.
Yeah, another thing is that, man, the people who post these nice videos of their nice times and nice food, nice places, it's actually a one-day thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's not their life, their whole life.
Yeah,
they actually choose only those moments that looks acceptable to be on camera, to be posted, because they don't post everything. You see, they post that's just those moments. So I think it's mainly because of the celebrities, man, because that's what they always do. It's them who influence the people into the way in which they think right now.
Yeah.
Because the celebrities will be shaking their booties, as you said. I don't blame the people for doing that, because they actually see their leaders. The celebrities are their leaders. Yeah.
Yeah, it's narrative, man. Remember, social media can be used for good and bad. Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff on social media. There's also bad stuff.
Now I'm talking about the bad one now.
Yeah. So, and you know, bad sells, eh? You know, I once heard that, you know, something like a negative word that you say to someone is 16 times more powerful than any positive word you could say to that person. So you'd have to repeat it 16 times. If you tell someone they're ugly, you'd have to repeat it. You have to say they're beautiful 16 times before they start to believe you. Eh? So it's very important that we take caution when we consume negative content. So it is true that some celebrities are even paid, man, to do those things. Eh? Like, for example, with hip hop.
Yeah, that's what they get paid to do.
Yeah, even with hip hop music, man. In hip hop videos, you know, there's a lot of cussing and killing and, you know, saying negative stuff,
drinking
about certain groups of people. Yeah, drinking,
lots of booze,
objectifying,
hanging around with naked women.
Exactly. And it's someone pays those people for that. But then if you come around and you start talking about investments and crypto and decentralized finance, owning land and farming and eating, you know, natural foods and all that, there's gonna be a lack of funding somewhere there. Somewhere it's gonna be. The algorithm is not gonna favor you that much. So there's a narrative that's put out there, whether it's Hollywood, whether it's other industries. There is a narrative because people are you can easily manipulate people. What they call PR, public relations, is actually propaganda. Propaganda is all about selling, man. You sell an idea. You go out, you can take a walk, you'll see billboards everywhere. I promise you, each and every one of those things, there's a lot of money spent on those billboards. Because you must accept the idea that that's good for you. You must consume it, even if you don't need it. Even if you don't need that nonsense. But because it's being sold over and over and over and over and over again, you repeat a lie so many times, it becomes a truth, And that's how human minds operate. So with these things of naked women, naked guys, there are topics, man, that were taboo not long ago, like 10 years ago. People wouldn't even dare talk about these things. But now, 10 years later, it's been sold so much that it's the norm. In the next 10 years, there's going to be things that right now are taboo. But in the next 10 years, there will be norms. Because humans are like that. The masses, the majority of human beings don't think. They don't think at all. And when you start thinking, they call you crazy. They don't. They're comfortable with the life that they are being, that's being designed for them. Just to touch on something, addiction. So there was an experiment that was done on mice, like and these mice were put in a cage, and in that cage they had water with nothing, just clean water, and water with cocaine in it. So it was said that a lot of the mice, when they tasted the water with cocaine, they kept on going back for the cocaine, back and again and again and again. And the conclusion was that, people are more likely to do bad things. They're more likely to go for the drugs. But then that's a lie. Because another experiment was done later on. They made the cage much bigger now, with way more options. There was cheese, there was other types of food, right? Besides the water and cocaine. A lot of the mice went to the nice stuff, man. Like the cheese. They didn't go to the water with cocaine. They didn't go to the clean water. They went to the nice stuff, the options they had.
And even if they did, they might have went there because they're addicted.
Yes, they're not really in charge.
It's not because they like it.
Exactly. So it speaks to options and what's being put in front of you. If I put in front of you one type of food and another type of food, they're both bad for you. But then there's one that seems a little better. You'll go for the one that seems a little better. You don't know much. You don't know that there's something more out there. Do you get me? That's why the cage was increased in size, and then they were given options. So my point is, man, with all that's happening, there is propaganda. There is a narrative that's being pushed. And if people don't choose to wake the hell up and actually start unlearning and questioning what they've been told their entire lives, then it's always going to be like this, man. There's always going to be that 1% of us who choose to think and choose to exit the matrix. But then we must be ready, because we'll be met with violence and aggression from those of our people who choose to stay in the matrix. The moment you question things, you're labeled as crazy, a nuthead, conspiracy theorist. The crazy thing is that all those conspiracies, they're always coming true, Just give it a year, 6 months, it comes true. And then they're nowhere to be found to say, yeah, you were right. So what I'm saying is, people don't want to think. And as long as people don't want to think, people will be manipulated. People will be enslaved. People will be colonized. So you choose. You either colonize or you are the colonized one.
Yeah, so you heard it, people. Think. It's not illegal yet, but they're working on it.
Exactly.